Welcome to Midnight Whispers, where the night doesn't whisper, it warns. As you lie in the safety of your bed, imagine footsteps in the forest, eyes watching from behind the trees, and truths too terrifying to ignore. These aren't just stories, they're echoes from the shadows, real accounts whispered under breath by those who survived. So close your eyes, but don't fall asleep too fast. The darkness remembers. Have you ever felt truly, utterly alone in nature, only to realize you're far from it, and what's there isn't human? The wilderness, with its serene beauty, often holds secrets far more unsettling than we dare to imagine. From the tranquil rustle of leaves to the deafening silence that precedes the unexplainable, these are tales of encounters beyond the campsite, where the wild gives way to something far wilder, and chillingly, not of this world. Our first story plunges us into the quiet dread of Woods Canyon Lake, Arizona, back in 1999. It's early spring, just my fiancé and I, camping for her very first time. I'd picked a well-developed site, far from the Jason Voorhees experience she feared, but still, the air hung heavy with an unnatural quiet. Not the peaceful kind, but the kind that screams at you. So profound, you can hear other campers breathing 100 yards away. It was darker than anything I'd ever seen. The moon hidden, light pollution non-existent. Our feeble lanterns barely pushed back the inky black. We were exhausted, bundled in our tent, my fiancé sleeping soundly beside me. But sleep wouldn't find me. As I lay there, reading by flashlight, the forest outside fell completely silent. No crickets, no rustling leaves, no distant animal calls. Just the hum of my lantern, my own breath, and the ringing in my ears. Then, a subtle pressure on the top right side of our small tent. Was it a branch? No, I'd cleared them all. What was pushing against the cheap nylon fabric, slowly, silently, moving downwards, directly towards my face? My hand instinctively found my new 9mm. I assumed it was a pervert, drawn to my beautiful fiancé. I planned my move. Bark at him, flash the gun, and burst out, firing warning shots into the woods. But as I pressed the weapon into the fabric, I felt resistance. Something solid. "You're messing with the wrong people, friend," I muttered, my voice low. I expected a gasp, a curse, a panicked retreat. Nothing. The pressure simply faded, soundlessly, as whatever it was backed away. A mouse farting would have sounded like a cannon in that silence. I extinguished my light, whipping my head left and right, but saw no silhouette against the distant lanterns. Nothing. I lay there, weapon clutched to my chest, for what felt like an eternity. Not a sound, not a breath of wind. It wasn't until an hour before dawn that the crickets dared to chirp again, followed by the birds. I didn't emerge until I heard other campers stirring. I scoured our site for tracks, for any sign. Nothing. No human footprints, no animal scat, no trace that anyone or anything other than us had been there. Later, I learned about Bigfoot sightings in that very area. What touched my tent that night? Something that moved in near total silence, respected a firearm, wasn't afraid, navigated perfect darkness, and left no trace. It still haunts me. Have you ever felt that spine-tingling silence in nature, like the world is holding its breath? It's unnerving, isn't it? From the eerie quiet of Arizona, we travel far north, above the Arctic Circle, to Norway, for a hunting trip where isolation and unseen presence intertwine. Our narrator, a 16-year-old, joins his stoic outdoorsman father at their remote cabin, accessible only by a ferry that rarely carries more than a handful of souls. This time, it was just them. The untouched nature, the soothing fresh air, it was supposed to be a sanctuary. Deep in the mountains, tracking grouse in heavy snow, our narrator found himself alone. The silence returned. Not just a lack of sound, but a deafening silence, as if all animal life had fled. For the first time since childhood, he felt uneasy. His own snowshoe-clad footsteps crunched loudly in the stillness, unnaturally so. He sat for a snack, ridiculing himself for being spooked when he heard it. Heavy footsteps. The distinct sound of a biped, a grown man, approaching from the direction he'd just come. He called out, thinking it was his father. No reply. The footsteps grew louder, closer. He checked his phone. A message from his dad, sent minutes ago. Coffee and lunch are ready. His father was at the lavu, the teepee-like shelter, miles away. Whatever was approaching was not his father. Panicked, he bolted. Snowshoes sinking in hip-deep snow, branches lashing his face. The extra pair of footsteps picked up pace, falling almost perfectly in sync with his own. It was then he realized, whatever it was had been following him since he'd entered the forest, the true cause of his abnormally loud footsteps. He pushed through the pain, through the thick, cold air, until he could hear the unseen presence no more than 5 meters behind him. He spun around. Nothing. Just empty, silent snow. He ran, finally reaching the frozen lake, where the pursuing footsteps abruptly ceased. Exhausted, he collapsed into the lavu, his father amused by his disheveled state. He said nothing of the encounter that day. Years later, he asked his father about strange occurrences in the area. The old man's answer, "Don't worry about it, don't ask about it. Some things are better off ignored." What if those heavy, unseen footsteps weren't just a figment of a spooked imagination? What if they were the true sound of something ancient and malevolent finally catching up? Our journey into the unsettling outdoors continues in a remote Finnish forest, where an encounter with a human figure proves deeply disturbing. A 5-year-old on his new moped, leaving a party deep in the woods, found himself on a long, narrow, poorly lit road. Around 2 a.m., in the pitch black, a figure suddenly darted from the forest, falling flat on its face in the middle of the road. It was a man, short, thin, with deeply sunken eyes, a pale, malnourished face, and unkempt, debris-filled blonde hair. He was wearing only a dirty turquoise hoodie and basketball shorts, despite the near-freezing temperatures. He seemed more scared of our narrator than the other way around, constantly shaking, his eyes darting back towards the dark woods as if being chased. Our narrator, frozen in fear, couldn't speak. After a moment, the man opened his mouth as if to say something, then abruptly closed it and vanished back into the black forest without a word, without a light. The encounter left profound questions. Was he high? Suffering from psychosis? Or perhaps abused? Part of a cult? What was he fleeing from in that silent, desolate forest, barefoot and half-clothed in the frigid night? The mystery lingers, a chilling testament to the unknown dangers that lurk where humanity meets the untamed wild. Next, we hear about supposedly haunted woods, experienced through the eyes of a girlfriend and her friends. Our narrator, a skeptic, waits in his car near these woods, feeling an inexplicable unease despite having camped and hiked countless times. His girlfriend, however, knew these woods held something sinister. She recounted terrifying experiences, bone-chilling screams, faint but clear, that echoed through the trees. Sightings of tall, white humanoid figures with long arms, glimpsed in the deep shadows. And during a game where friends would separate briefly in the woods, one was found in a fetal position, covered in inexplicable scratch marks. The scratches weren't deep, but they were physical proof that something was happening. The palpable sense of being watched, the rustling leaves when nothing should be moving, the cold dread, the screams, the figures, the scratches. These woods were clearly a place where the veil between worlds was thin, or perhaps simply ripped open. Finally, we arrive at a historical encounter at Drayton Hall Plantation in Charleston, South Carolina. It's the middle of summer, a scorching 98 degrees Fahrenheit with stifling humidity. Our narrator and his skeptical father, both history buffs, are exploring the grounds. A tour guide mentions an unmarked mass grave, a slave cemetery on the property where hundreds of enslaved people were buried. Driven by curiosity, they venture down a dirt road deep into the forested area. Despite the oppressive heat and zero wind, our narrator suddenly felt an inexplicable, intense cold spot on the back of his neck, extending down his right arm and shoulder as if ice had been pressed against him. It was distinct, localized, and utterly defied explanation given the sweltering conditions. The moment he looked away to speak to his father, the cold vanished instantly. Only later did he learn about cold spots being a common phenomenon in paranormal investigations. What happened at Drayton Hall? Was it the lingering sorrow of a mass grave, manifesting as an unnatural chill? Or something else entirely, an echo from a tragic past, reaching out? The wilderness holds its breath, its silence unnerving, its depths concealing secrets that defy the rational. From the chilling caress of an unseen presence on a tent, to the heavy, synchronistic footsteps of an unknown stalker in the Arctic, to the silent, desperate man in the Finnish forest, the screams and white figures in haunted woods, and the inexplicable cold in a historical mass grave, these are the wild's unsettling gifts. They remind us that sometimes we are not alone, even when the world tells us we are. And what lurks just beyond our perception, in the quietest, most remote places, might be waiting for you. Have these stories made you reevaluate your own experiences in the wild? Share your thoughts below. From the vast, silent outdoors and its hidden terrors, let's now journey into the most intimate of spaces, the childhood home, where the unexplained often leaves the deepest, most confusing marks. What if your childhood imaginary friend wasn't so imaginary after all? And what if your earliest memories hold secrets of lives before? From unseen playmates to chilling premonitions, our formative years can be a canvas for the truly unexplainable, leaving marks that stretch far beyond the playground. These are the unsettling echoes of childhood. We begin in Tennessee, where a series of bizarre encounters unfolded near a 400-acre forest, land untouched for over 150 years due to ancient disputes. Our narrator, as a child, stumbled upon dilapidated structures deep within these woods. One day, playing in the backyard with his sister near a rickety old house on the property line, they saw an old woman sitting in a green lawn chair on the second-story loft. The house was a wreck, clearly uninhabited for decades. Yet this 70 to 80-year-old woman was just there. She even spoke to his sister, claiming she used to live there. What made it truly unsettling? She simply vanished. One moment, the green chair and the woman were there. The next, as they walked away, the chair remained, but she was gone. No sound, no movement, just gone. How did she appear? How did she disappear? To this day, the answer remains elusive. Have you ever encountered someone or something that defied all logic, simply appearing and disappearing without a trace? The strangeness continued. Walking home from the bus stop in middle school, our narrator frequently saw glowing red dots, like tiny, dull red eyes, appear along the tree line bordering the creepy forest. They followed him, silent and persistent. He'd run home, convinced they were watching. Once, brave enough to approach. The lights vanished, leaving behind only a cold chill, even in warm weather. No berries, no animals, no explanation. Just a lingering, unsettling memory of unseen eyes in the dark. This persistent sensation of being watched extended to his own home, particularly the basement or deep in the woods. A creeping fear would precede a full-blown adrenaline rush, sending him fleeing. He was medically checked, but there was no biological explanation for this profound, unprovoked dread. The woods, it seemed, held darker secrets still. One particular spring day, an excursion with his brothers led them to a circular clearing. As they approached, the usual vibrant sounds of the forest died, replaced by a profound, unnatural silence. No flies, no insects, just an eerie, suffocating stillness. In the center of the clearing, on a raised stone outcropping, lay a disemboweled fox, arranged strangely, not eaten, its organs displayed like a dissection. There was no smell, no flies, nothing to suggest a natural death or animal interaction. They all felt it then. The hair on their necks stood up, the unmistakable sensation of being watched. A chilling sound, like wind, rustled through the trees, yet no leaves or branches moved. His eldest brother, white-faced, declared they were leaving, and they bolted, never to return as a group. For our narrator, one final, terrifying solo encounter cemented his resolve to avoid those woods forever. Just 400 meters from the tree line, he felt an intense, cold, watching presence closing in. The silence was absolute, a suffocating vacuum that choked the usually teeming Tennessee woods. He screamed out, hoping for a human response, but only deeper silence answered. He bolted, running through thick undergrowth, not caring about the scratches, until he collapsed, safe but traumatized, never again setting foot in that cursed forest. What could cause such a primal fear, such a profound silence, and such bizarre, unexplained occurrences? From the haunting mysteries of Tennessee, we journey across the ocean to the UK, where the echoes of the past resonate through the mind of a young child. Our narrator's 6-year-old son began to speak of a before. One day, walking the dogs, he casually recalled, "Mom, remember before when I was laying in that field and my face was in the mud and the gunshots were over my head? My feet were so wet." A shocking detail for a child who had never been around guns. He insisted it was real, describing, crying, and hoping not to get shot. Days later, he spoke of picking up his mom after that, and of playing with a toy car as a baby, hearing banging outside a window taped all over a specific detail of World War II precautions in the UK, which he couldn't possibly know at his age. Then, sitting with his great-grandfather, he pointed to Winston Churchill on a £5 note, declaring him a great prime minister. His teacher confirmed they hadn't covered historical figures. Most unsettlingly, he spoke of being woken by a nice man from before, dressed in a green suit with badges, very white, who nudged his arm. The child wasn't scared. In fact, he seemed happy to reconnect with someone he hadn't seen in a long time. These weren't dreams. To him, they were vivid memories of a past life, a life connected to the war. Do you believe in past lives? Could a child's innocent recollections truly be fragmented memories from another time? The concept of unseen companions extends beyond past lives. In another story, a toddler began talking about his imaginary friend, Charlie, who would emerge from his closet at night, tickling and scaring him. His parents dismissed it as nightmares, until one night, his father, woken by his daughter's laughter and then cries, witnessed a dark, featureless, 4-foot-tall figure floating and disappearing into her bedroom door. Charlie was real. The family moved soon after, and Charlie, thankfully, never followed them. Similarly, in a different home, a 2.5-year-old girl encountered Sharon, a glowing, solid-looking girl with strawberry blonde hair, who became her constant companion, playing with her, even saving her from drowning. Sharon explained that only the narrator could see her. Then, on Halloween, a new sinister presence appeared. The Vexo Lady, a beautiful, cold woman with unnaturally bright blue eyes, dressed in black. She glowed, but her light was harsh, like ice. The Vexo Lady wanted to take the child to a beautiful meadow full of soft grass and sweet flowers, full of children, special children like me. But the child refused, sensing danger. After this, more ghosts appeared. A little boy, an old man. The incidents escalated until the night before the child's 4th birthday, when the Vexo Lady forcibly dragged her towards a glowing blue and white portal in the closet, a gateway to that strange meadow. Just as the child's arm passed through, Sharon, her guardian, pulled her back, and the portal shattered and closed. Sharon, her mission complete, faded into the morning light. The experiences stopped. What were these entities? Were they imaginary? Or were these real, unseen forces trying to interact, or even abduct, a young, sensitive child? In an old Polish building, a lonely 2-year-old boy found solace playing with Legos. One day, a quiet, strangely dressed kid appeared on the other side of his Lego pile, playing with him, asking for specific pieces. This continued for 2 years. Years later, at 16, he saw a family photo with his grandfather. He pointed to a child in the picture, saying, "Hey, I know him." His grandfather, shocked, revealed the child had died during World War II, a victim of the Nazis. He had been playing innocently with the ghost of a child long gone, a victim of a horrific past. Back in Michigan, a subtle but persistent phenomenon plagued our narrator's childhood home. From age 12, every night at 3 a.m., a jagged, blinding streak of house lightning would flash across her ceiling, lighting up the entire room and leaving her disoriented with spots in her eyes. It instilled a profound sense of dread. One day, at 16, she witnessed it in broad daylight, a large, branched-out white light exploding from nothing directly in front of her face. Later, a colleague from Latvia told her it was a known phenomenon called house lightning. Her boss had even seen a similar flash in a nearby forest. Could this be a shared, unexplained atmospheric phenomenon, or something more deeply rooted in the energy of that place? And finally, a truly ambiguous sighting in a family cemetery. Driving past her family plot, our narrator, at 26, saw a small female figure sitting on a large gravestone facing the road. She was in an old-fashioned white dress, with long brown hair and black boots. She remained motionless for 10 to 15 seconds as they drove past. Her husband saw nothing. Her great-great-aunt Sadie, who died at 12-inch 1902, was buried in that very plot. Was it Sadie reaching out from beyond? Or was it, perhaps more disturbingly, a living person engaged in some strange costume play on a grave? The line between the living and the spectral blurred, leaving an unsettling question hanging in the air. Our earliest memories, our childhood homes, the innocent games we played, they can sometimes hide the most profound mysteries, tales of unseen companions, chilling premonitions, and strange phenomena that defy logical explanation. What do you think of these childhood echoes? Have you ever had an imaginary friend who felt too real, or a memory that just doesn't fit? Share your thoughts below. As these profound childhood tales fade, some presences don't. In fact, they stick around, often making themselves known right in the supposed comfort of our adult homes and other familiar spaces. Is your home truly your sanctuary? Or is it a stage for unseen drama? Brace yourself for tales where the line between residents and spirits blurs, and the veil between worlds thins. Let's plunge into the chilling reality of everyday paranormal activity, starting with a house built on hallowed, ancestral ground. Imagine moving into your dream home, only to discover it sitting right on top of an old 1,800-second cemetery. That's exactly what happened to one family in the UK. During their move, before even spending their first night, the narrator distinctly heard two young children playing and talking, a girl around 10 to 12 and a boy no older than 5. The voices were so clear, so normal, like any younger siblings at play. But when called out, the playing stopped, and no one was found in the house. Everyone else was outside. Months later, alone in her room, the narrator saw the reflection of a girl in her television screen. A young girl with long, curly blonde hair and an 1,800-second style blue dress facing away. Dismissing it as a sleep-deprived hallucination, she went back to sleep. But it wasn't. It couldn't have been her doll, which was the wrong color and facing the television. Soon, objects began to move, falling off carpeted stairs. Lights flickered on and off at random. The sound of footsteps became a constant companion. Despite the undeniable evidence, her mother, who, oddly enough, did believe in ghosts, remained skeptical of these particular occurrences. Affectionately, the narrator named the ghost girl Lizzie. The haunting truly escalated one night when the narrator's mother called her, telling Lizzie not to scare the crap out of her. It turned out her mom had seen a dark orb hovering over her side of the bed, which swiftly vanished through the ceiling. This was the turning point. Local news articles eventually confirmed their neighborhood was built directly over an old cemetery, with graves having been disturbed and even re-emerging during a flood. They discovered headstones still visible in many yards, including weirdly flat stones near their own garden. The truth was out. They were living with a ghost, perhaps more. Lizzie, as they now knew her, became part of the family. The poltergeist activity evolved. No more objects thrown from the stairs, but she started interacting with their Xbox, turning consoles and TVs on and off. Once, after the narrator's mom joked about how easy it was for Lizzie to turn on the sensitive Xbox, the console began turning on and off repeatedly. The mom politely asked her to stop, and it would for a minute or two before resuming. When their consoles turn on by themselves now, they simply ask what Lizzie wants to watch or play. They've even seen a shadow cat. They treat Lizzie like family, talking to her, offering snacks, and leaving toys out. Life is undeniably weird, and new people in the house quickly notice their spectral housemates. This house, built upon the echoes of the past, certainly proves that home isn't always where the hauntings end. Sometimes, though, the spirits don't just reside in old homes or cemeteries. Sometimes, they follow you. Imagine a presence so attached, it migrates with you, from one house to another, across the country. One individual shared her lifelong experience with a blue-hue girl ghost. Since 5th grade, she's seen spirits. But this girl, shrouded in a blue glow with white clothes and dark hair, was different. She first appeared during a sleepover, witnessed by her friend as their cats hissed furiously at the top of the stairs. Both boys saw the figure. This experience terrified her friend, who never returned. Many others refused to stay at her house, labeling her the weird kid. This blue-hue girl wasn't confined to a single location. She followed the narrator through multiple moves, even across the country. What causes such a persistent attachment? Is it a lingering echo, or something more deliberate? It certainly makes you wonder about the unseen passengers in our lives. But what if you didn't just see or sense these entities? What if you could physically interact with them? This unique ability manifested for one person at the tender age of 6, at her cousin's funeral. She bumped into him so concretely, it was like hitting a living person, causing her to fall. Years later, as an adult, she has a 4-year-old son. She often sees and communicates with her deceased father, but her mother, who hasn't coped with his passing, gets scared. So, when her father's spirit was urging her to playfully flick her son's ear, she tried to ignore it. That's when her son stomped his foot and exclaimed, "No, Papa!" Her mother was furious, convinced her curse had been passed on. But the truly astounding part? Her son had never met her father. The only other person who called him Papa was her sister's own daughter. This was undeniable proof to her that her son was genuinely interacting with her deceased father. A beautiful, yet undoubtedly bizarre connection across the veil. This brings us to a chilling story where a spirit wasn't just playful or present, but actively protective. A young couple's son, just 3 years old, began talking to a mysterious friend he called the farmer. This friend started revealing strange details, like the mother's childhood nickname, Chi Chi, a name only her long-deceased mother-in-law had ever used. The parents were dumbfounded. There was no way their son could have known this. The unsettling conversations with the farmer continued, escalating to the point where the father heard his son conversing with this unseen entity, describing it as playing with the farmer because he was tired. It was unsettling, evoking thoughts of supernatural possession. But then, in the middle of the night, both parents overheard their son say, "Grandma says, you and I can't be friends anymore." When they rushed in, their son, wide awake, simply stated, "Yeah, Grandma says I can't play with the farmer anymore." From that moment on, the farmer was never mentioned again. Their deceased mother-in-law, from beyond the grave, had seemingly intervened to protect her grandchild from a disturbing entity. It's a heartwarming, yet truly chilling, testament to love that transcends even death. Speaking of cleansing rituals, what if they don't banish a spirit, but merely relocate it? One family moved into a house whose previous elderly owners had recently passed. Strange occurrences began immediately. Footsteps upstairs, doors and drawers slamming shut. When the couple's 3-year-old daughter started waving to the boy in the basement every night, it was time for intervention. An aunt, sensitive to unsettled spirits, performed a cleansing ritual involving burning herbs and speaking to the entities. A white flash was seen in the living room, and instantly, all the unsettling noises ceased. The daughter no longer waved to the basement. Peace. Or so they thought. A week later, the aunt told the mother she believed the spirits had followed her home. The mother scoffed, until the aunt mentioned her own cousin had started waving to a boy in their basement. The daughter's earlier behavior had never been discussed with the aunt or cousin, ruling out any possibility of mimicry. It was a bizarre, accidental confirmation. The spirit had indeed migrated, suggesting that sometimes you don't banish, you merely redirect. These domestic disturbances can manifest in even the newest of homes. A new apartment, barely a month old, began exhibiting peculiar phenomena. The narrator, after meticulously cleaning, returned to find a mysterious puddle of water on the floor, with no discernible leak from the ceiling. It vanished just as mysteriously later. Then, at 2 a.m., the doorknob of her locked apartment began shaking violently, as if someone was desperately trying to get in. A profound cold permeated the room, despite it being August. After an agonizing few minutes, the shaking stopped. But then, a child's whispered voice echoed from the other side of the door. "Mommy, please let me in. I'm scared of the dark." The narrator, terrified, called her boyfriend, and the crying ceased the moment she dialed. It's a chilling reminder that even a new, secure apartment can become a stage for profound domestic unease. Finally, we step outside the home to a location steeped in local legend and unexplained phenomena. Asterisk, asterisk, Doctor. Gary's Bridge. Asterisk, asterisk. This chilling account comes from a skeptic who became a believer. Dr. Gary, a rural mountain doctor from the 1962nd, tragically died on this remote bridge when he had a heart attack, crashing his car into the creek below. Legend says he reenacts his death every night. The narrator, initially a doubter, went with a friend to investigate. After 3 uneventful nights, they returned earlier on the 4th. Descending stone steps to explore under the bridge, the narrator heard young voices clear as day, laughing and talking, at least 4 people. Her friend heard nothing, but as they stood under the bridge, a car approached above them. A rarity in such an isolated location. Suddenly, they heard it. Bam, 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 followed by a distinct splash. The entire bridge vibrated violently. They sprinted out, shaken to their core. The reenactment was undeniable, challenging everything the narrator had thought she knew about the paranormal. Have you ever experienced a presence that leaves an undeniable mark, like the spectral crash that shook Dr. Gary's bridge? What about a mysterious cold spot or a protective presence that feels like family? Have you ever had technology seemingly manipulated by an unseen hand in your own home? Share your theories and experiences in the comments below. While some threats come from the unseen, others walk among us, disguised as ordinary people. Prepare for the chilling reality of human malevolence, where the scariest monsters are often flesh and blood, lurking just out of sight. Forget ghosts. What happens when the scariest monsters aren't spirits, but the people you least expect? These are the real-life nightmares that will make you double-check your locks. This chilling segment is dedicated to those let's not meet type stories, focusing on terrifying real-life encounters with human perpetrators in various unsettling scenarios. Our first story drops us into the dead of night, where a 20-year-old in Michigan was driving home from her midnight shift at Walmart. It's 2007. Roads are deserted, and she's cruising along at the speed limit when she notices headlights in her rear-view mirror. A dirty, run-down, rusted white utility van. It's been there for a mile or two. Annoying, but maybe a coincidence, right? Then she turns onto her side street, lined only with neighborhoods, and the van turns too. Her heart starts to race. Okay, this is weird, she thinks, still trying to brush it off. But when she turns into her own neighborhood, the van is still there. She can't lead this creep to her home, so she drives past her driveway, taking another route out of her neighborhood. The van persists, a relentless shadow. To confirm her fears before calling 911, she loops through her neighborhood again, and sure enough, it follows. Terrified, she dials 911, explaining the situation as she heads back towards her work, hoping to find a patrol unit. The dispatcher guides her to a well-lit 7-Eleven. She pulls in, turns on her hazards, and seconds later, the van pulls in too, stopping dead in the middle of the road. It seems the driver realized where she'd led them and bolted. A police officer arrives, finding her in hysterics. They caught the driver, a man named Michael Stone Breaker, found with heroin, a serial offender. He claimed he thought she was his friend. But why didn't he just pull up at the red light? Why the relentless tailing? What do you think his true intentions were? It's a terrifying thought. Always trust that gut feeling. It's not paranoia. It's self-preservation. Speaking of gut feelings, imagine being a high schooler, walking home alone on a seemingly normal street in a crime-ridden city. Our next storyteller, A sophomore usually got a ride, but this day she had to walk. As she walked, a dark SUV parked about 20 feet ahead of her. Nothing alarming until she passed it, and it started slowly driving along the sidewalk, keeping pace a few yards behind her. She pulled out a compact mirror, pretending to check her face, and saw the tinted windows, no discernible face inside. She maintained her pace, trying not to raise alarms. Then, her heart dropped as her house came into view. No cars were in the driveway. No one was home, and she had no keys. The SUV parked right in front of her house. She quickly found her backyard fence unlocked, bolted to an outside bathroom, locked herself in, and called her boyfriend. He arrived 15 minutes later, the SUV long gone. This was a close call. What would you do in that situation if you found yourself locked out with a potential threat right outside your home? The next story takes us to a remote desert in Nevada 20 years ago. A 16-year-old on her first solo drive home at night. She sees an older sedan with hazards on. Common in the desert, people help. A man approaches, reeking of liquor, explaining his stick-shift car stalled. She agrees to push start it with her truck. It works. They thank her, invite her to hang out. She declines, politely. They pull off, and she continues, already running late for curfew. But in her rear view, their headlights reappear, tailgating her on a deserted road. She tries to lose them, taking turns to loop around, but they follow, relentlessly. Her heart pounds. She pulls over, pretending to fiddle with something, waiting. The driver gets out, then his companion. They walk towards her. Just as they reach her tailgate, she floors it, kicking up a cloud of dust, and races to the nearest gas station. She calls home, safe but shaken. It's a chilling reminder. Even when you're trying to be helpful, some situations can turn predatory. Our stories often revolve around the vulnerability of youth. In 1992, a 10-year-old girl, recently moved to Sydney, Australia, found comfort walking her new puppy, Milo, in a park. One day, a white sedan pulls up. An overweight, middle-aged man with a walrus mustache gets out, looks straight at her, and says, "I'm not going to hurt you." That phrase, often a precursor to harm, triggered primal panic. She grabbed Milo and bolted down the stone stairs into the park's thick foliage, hiding. The car idled above, but the man didn't follow. 2 days later, local news reported an abduction. A girl, snatched from her bus stop a few suburbs away. Coincidence? Maybe. But the gut feeling, the specific words, the man's demeanor, it felt like a close call. How do you prepare a child to trust that instinct? To run, when the world can be so disarmingly dangerous? Then there are the urban legends that walk among us. In 2016, killer clowns were a real-life phenomenon, terrifying people across towns. A 10th grade girl, initially skeptical, found herself walking home from her boyfriend's house one night. Halfway home, near the East Court Mall, she saw a group of people in a dark parking lot yelling at her. She brushed them off, thinking it was just another group of guys catcalling, until 2 of them started walking towards her, laughing like psychopaths. Then she saw the clown masks. Behind them, at least 3 more. Not wanting to panic, she walked faster, then deliberately turned down a wrong street to avoid leading them to her home. She hid behind a bush, watching them walk past, one yelling, "I'll find you, pretty lady. Come on, come out and play. We know where your street is, and we will find you." Hours later, getting a snack before bed, she looked out her kitchen window to see the group of clowns walking past her house. The chilling realization, they knew where she lived. It's a reminder that sometimes the line between urban myth and terrifying reality is razor thin. The next story emphasizes direct physical danger. In 2007, A 2-year-old grabbing pizza after school found himself in an underground passage in Europe. A middle-aged man approached, talking in a strange way, asking questions, his face marked by a massive scar and a missing part of his ear. Feeling a cold dread, the boy tried to end the conversation. The man followed, grabbed him, pushed him against the wall, a pocket knife pressed against his stomach. "Money," he demanded. The boy handed over 150 crowns and his silver chain. The man walked away as if nothing had happened at all. What amplified the terror was the inaction of others. People walked by, ignoring the obvious danger. This experience forged a promise in the boy. I would do whatever I could to help others if they were in situations like this. It's a powerful lesson urging us all. Don't be bystanders. Finally, we head to Canada, where a 4-year-old girl and her friend, Emma, were hanging out near a strange assortment of connected houses that housed people on probation. It was a hot summer day, and they were petting stray kittens when an unusual man, Bernard, came out, then returned with a friend, Steve. The conversations became unsettling. Steve commented on Emma's clothing. Bernard suggested they come inside for a cold drink to see a friend who'd had an accident and had his stomach taken out. A third, shirtless, shadowed figure stood silently watching from a doorway inside. The girls, deeply uncomfortable, made their excuses and left. But the creepiness didn't end there. As they walked down the road, they saw Bernard and Steve 10 feet behind them, smiling, silently following. They locked arms, called 911, and were directed to a nearby police station, where officers intervened. It was later confirmed these were halfway houses for violent individuals, drug users, and perverts. These are the hidden dangers, the monsters often in plain sight, in seemingly ordinary places. Have you ever felt that primal instinct screaming at you to run? How do you assess danger in these types of encounters? Share your close calls and safety tips in the comments below. From the clear and present danger of human threats, we now step into a realm where reality itself seems to bend. These are the stories that defy easy explanation, leaving us with more questions than answers and a profound sense of the truly bizarre. What if everything you thought you knew about reality was just a fraction of the truth? Prepare yourself, because these are the stories that shatter perception, rip through the fabric of the mundane, and leave you questioning absolutely everything. Welcome to the final descent into the truly bizarre, the unsolved, and the utterly unexplainable. Our first delve into the unknown begins with a modern mystery that suggests even our technology isn't immune to the strange. Two friends, driving through Ancaster, Canada, found their GPS suddenly override their music, inputting a new destination. This wasn't a glitch, it was a redirection. The AI voice began giving instructions, and like something out of a horror movie, they decided to follow. The first destination, a worn-out road behind a construction site leading into a fenced-off forest adorned with no trespassing signs everywhere. Freaked out, they turned back, but the GPS rerouted them to another dead-end road on the opposite side of the same forest. Days later, still unnerved, they looked up the locations on Google Earth. What they found chilled them. The clearing they'd seen was an ancient cemetery, the burial ground of the city's original settlers. Developers had tried to build on it, but were denied permission because a prior landowner had moved every headstone, leaving the graves unmarked. Historians later confirmed 99 grave shafts, 60 of them belonging to children, and court documents revealed the developers had simply moved the remains into a corner of a new subdivision without any proper cemetery. The most unsettling detail? The court date where this horrific truth was unveiled was exactly 10 years to the day of their bizarre GPS detour. Was their GPS truly manipulated? Were spirits trying to expose a forgotten injustice? Or was it merely the most chilling coincidence imaginable? What do you think prompted this digital ghost to reveal such a tragic secret? Now, let's step into a mind-bending anomaly that defies linear time itself. My ex-boyfriend's mother shared this chilling account from the 1982nd. She and her cousin were driving down a remote dirt road, already known for strange occurrences, when their car stalled. No cell phones, so they started walking. Not far ahead, they spotted a car. Relief flooded them, until they realized it was their car. Same make, model, even the sweater on the back seat, the empty pop can. Confused and deeply unnerved, they walked on. And it happened again, and again. Each time, they found their own stalled car further down the road. Desperate, her cousin left a stick on the car's hood, hoping for proof. The next loop, the stick was gone. She described a chilling fear that the loop would go on forever, trapped in this bizarre, repeating reality. Thankfully, it eventually broke, and they found their way back to civilization. But they never found an explanation. What kind of temporal distortion could cause such an unsettling phenomenon? Have you ever experienced a moment where reality seemed to skip a beat or repeat itself? The same mysterious road has borne witness to yet another inexplicable event. But this time, the strangeness came from above. Years after the time loop incident, the ex-boyfriend's mother was with friends, driving along the remote dirt path. One friend noticed strange white lights deep within the woods, with no discernible trail. They couldn't see the object itself through the dense trees, just the intense, unnatural light source. The driver slowed, the music was cut, and a low, almost ringing hum filled the air, a sound they all distinctly heard. Then, without warning, the mysterious object shot straight up into the night sky, transforming into a kaleidoscope of rotating colors. It paused briefly above the tree line before vanishing into the horizon. A classic UFO sighting, yet so much more profound due to the isolated setting and the shared visceral experience. What could generate such light and sound, and then perform such impossible maneuvers? Is there a connection between these various unexplained phenomena on this particular road? From time loops to potential UFOs, and even Sasquatch sightings. Our final, and perhaps most disturbing encounter, takes us to the James A. Reed Wildlife Area in Missouri, where a serene natural park hides a truly bizarre and tragic mystery. In 2011, the body of a 9-year-old was found there. The official story was that he overdosed at a party and his friends supposedly dumped his body there. But anyone familiar with the area knew this was highly improbable. The park is vast, with multiple chained and locked gates, car-killing potholes on a 1.5-mile-long paved road, and reaching the body's location required going completely off-path, through thick brush, down a steep slope, and across 2 deep streams. It was a Class 2 to 3 hitchhike, even in daylight. There was simply no way drunk teenagers could have dragged a body there without leaving a trace or breaking through gates. So what did happen to him? The mystery deepens when our narrator and his girlfriend, investigating the site out of morbid curiosity, encountered something truly unsettling on their strenuous hike back. As they were making their way upstream in a remote section, they spotted a middle-aged man in a full business suit. He was bald, with deep-set, dead eyes, a slack-jawed, blank expression, and massive bags under his eyes, looking like he hadn't slept in days. And here's the kicker. He was walking chest-deep in the stream, but he was perfectly dry from the chest up. He ignored them completely, just slowly, methodically trudging downstream, his briefcase bobbing behind him. There was no easy way into or out of that stream from where he was. The silence of the forest was broken only by the sloshing of his footsteps. The overwhelming feeling he exuded was one of profound dread, confusion, and raw terror, a foreign sensation that defies words. They drove off, shaken to their core, expecting to read about another body found. But no such report ever materialized. Was this businessman connected to the deceased young man? Was he a lost soul, a hallucination, or something far more chilling? What kind of entity walks through a remote stream, perfectly dry from the waist up, with such a chilling, unseeing gaze? These stories, from the inexplicable to the utterly terrifying, challenge our understanding of what's possible. They remind us that the world is far stranger than we often allow ourselves to believe, filled with unanswered questions and a vast unknown that continues to expand the more we explore it. Perhaps some mysteries are meant to remain just that, mysteries. But in sharing them, we keep the questions alive, we encourage curiosity, and we acknowledge that there are forces and phenomena beyond our current grasp. What are your theories on these cases? Have you ever encountered something that defied all logic, leaving you with more questions than answers? Share your thoughts and experiences in the comments below. Stay curious, stay vigilant, and never stop looking for the truth, even if it's stranger than fiction.